Good evening. Before we get started tonight, if I can have everybody's attention, please. Before we get started tonight, I'd like to ask Reverend Jerry Dockery from Crabapple First Baptist Church to lead us in invocation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's pray. Lord, we're grateful for this day that you've made, and we pray that we have served you well in it, that your glory has been manifested in our lives. We thank you for this privilege that we have tonight to gather and conduct business that pertains to our local government. We pray that you give wisdom and direction to those that make decisions, to those that make comment, and to move in ways that are persuasive. Lord, we thank you for those that are first responders in our community and all that they offer us. We just pray for your presence to abide here tonight for your glory and for our benefit. For we ask it in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Reverend Dockery, for being here tonight. All right, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Milton City Council for Monday, March 18th, 2019 to order. Sudie, if you'll please call the roll and read general announcements.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll be happy to call roll for the March 18th, 2019 regular meeting. I would like to remind those in attendance to please silence all cell phones at this time. Those attending the meeting who would like to make a public comment, you're required to complete a public comment card prior to speaking on the item. All speakers, please identify yourself by name, address, and organization before beginning your comment. If you are representing an organization, an affidavit is required stating that you have the authority to speak on behalf of the organization. Demonstration of any sort within the chamber is prohibited. Please refrain from any applause, booing, cheering, outbursts, or dialogue with any person speaking. Anyone in violation will be asked to leave. As I call roll this evening, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Joe Lockwood.
Here.
Councilmember Peyton Jamison.
Here.
Councilmember Matt Kuntz.
Here.
Councilmember Laura Bentley.
Here.
Councilmember Carol Cookerly.
Here.
Councilmember Joe Longoria.
Here.
For the record, Councilmember Rick Morick is absent. Tonight, we are honored to have the Sons of the American Revolution lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Will everyone please rise?
Ready, halt. To the right face and salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Left face, front line. Ready, halt. Left face, dismiss.
Good evening, everyone. And I also want to thank the Sons of the American Revolution for being here. It's always a pleasure and an honor to have you in the audience tonight. Sudie, if you will please sound the next item.
Our next item this evening is approval of the meeting agenda. Agenda item number 19053.
Okay. I'd like to add an executive session to discuss land acquisition. Is there anything else?
Joe, I do have a question on the consent agenda item number 2. Can we pull that off? How do we do that? Does that go to new business or?
We can move it to, we can separate that out. We can probably separate it out on this and vote separately, or is it, if we need discussion on it?
If you need discussion on it, you can just make a motion and add it to the new business agenda.
Okay, that's fine. I'll make a motion to add that to the new business.
You want to make
agenda.
discussion on it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so if you want to state your motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the meeting agenda with the changes to move consent agenda item number 2 to new business and add an executive session to discuss land acquisition.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion as read from Councilmember Kuntz, second from Councilmember Jameson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay. Next item's public comment. Cindy, do we have any public? All right. Public comment is the time for citizens to share information with the mayor and city council and provide input and opinions on any matter that is not scheduled for its own public hearing during today's meeting. Each citizen who chooses to participate in public comment must complete a comment card and submit it to our city clerk. Please remember this is not a time to engage the mayor or city council, members of city council, in a conversation. When your name is called, please come forward and speak into the microphone stating your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes for remarks. So, Sudie, if you'd please call the first speaker.
Our speaker is Bonnie Wilhite.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bonnie Wilhite. I live at 114 Latham's Mill Lane, Ball Ground, Georgia. And this is my husband, Ron Wilhite.
Good evening.
And we just wanted to kind of introduce you guys to an exciting new addition to the community that's finally coming up. Hopefully, fingers crossed, in 6 months. Pardon my attire. I'm a veterinarian, and I just came off of work. But it has been my passion to be more connected with the community. In my veterinary profession, I've been practicing in Roswell for 20 years, and my practice was purchased by a corporate practice 15 years ago. And what it has happened, essentially, is it's just been pulling me further and further apart from my clients, who I know and love dearly. So it was time to start my own clinic, and we picked Milton because we love the community. My husband is just down the street at Hopewell Middle School, so we're very familiar with the community, and we wanted an opportunity also to partner with Cambridge High School and their wonderful FFA program. So we'll be right next door. Our clinic is going to be at 2790 Bethany Bend, and we have a few pictures of it. This is just some of the architectural renderings, if it comes up. I lost it. It's going to be a fancy barn style, going to fit with the onus of the community, and I work with Great Pyrenees Rescue and Golden Retriever Rescue of Atlanta, as well as take care of my existing clients. So we just wanted you guys to understand what all that, riffraff is going on in the corner there with the demolition of the existing building and the construction of the new practice. So we're hoping to be open in September, but we're really excited to be part of the Milton community. Thank you for the opportunity. Everybody's been wonderful to work with, and we're looking really forward to enjoying our time with you guys. But here's just a few pictures, just sort of demonstrating some of the aspects of the practice, where it's located. It's at the corner of Bethany Bend and Cogburn, which is catty corner to Cambridge, so very convenient for the students. I love to teach, so I'm very, very excited about the opportunity to take part in the community and helping with that. This is where the proposed clinic is going to be located. There's some modifications to the driveway compared to this plan, but essentially it's going to kind of sit right up on the corner and be presented as you come to the intersection. And once again, it's a really nice barn-style practice that's really going to fit with the community and the whole architectural theme of the area. And it's a purpose-built practice, which I'm very excited about because I get to pick everything from the bottom up. So we're very excited. It's going to be a neat place, and we encourage everybody to just come by and see it. And these are the different angles of the practice from the renderings from our architects. So you can just kind of see it from all different directions. And on the top of the cupola, there's going to be a beagle weather vane in honor of our fur babies, and it's being built by my father, so it's kind of special. As you can see, it's got a really neat floor plan, so we're excited, and we're looking forward to hopefully opening in September. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, and welcome to Milton.
Thank you.
All right. Susie, do you have any more public comment?
That's all, sir.
Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda then.
First item is approval of the March 4th, 2019 City Council meeting minutes. Agenda item number 19054. The second item was moved by motion and vote under new business. Next is approval of a professional services agreement between the City of Milton and Wolverton and Associates, Inc. for conceptual design of the Cogburn Road sidewalk project. Agenda item number 19056. Our third consent agenda item is approval of a construction services agreement between the City of Milton and Prime Contractors, Inc. for the construction of storage buildings for Public Works and Fire Department. Agenda item number 19057. Next is approval of a contract with CrewSense, LLC, for the provision of a fire EMS staff and scheduling system. Agenda item number 19058. Our fifth and final consent agenda item this evening is the approval of the following subdivision plat. Tanglewood Preserve, Phase 2, land lots 465 and 466, Chinnery Drive. This is a final plat revision. Add one lot, 15 lots total in Phase 2, 27.81 total acres, 0.54 lots per acre. This is agenda item number 19059.
Okay, I'll open up for a motion.
Mayor, I move that we accept or approve the consent agenda as read by the city clerk.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Longoria with a second from Councilmember Kuntz. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous, Sudi, with item number 2 obviously being removed and put to new business. So, all right, we'll move on to reports and presentations. Sudi, if you'll please sound the first item.
First item is recognition of the Milton First Responders Foundation for their purchase of new grant equipment for the police and fire departments. This is being presented by Ms. Robin Pinto of the Milton First Responders Foundation.
Exactly.
City Council members, Mayor, Brian Dolan, I'm the chairperson for Milton First Responders Foundation. Robin is with me as, of course, one of the board members for Milton First Responders Foundation. It's our pleasure to be here tonight as we've issued and approved 2 grants over the last 60 days, one of which is to provide the fire department additional safety masks. Right? As we know, the fire department deals with a lot of carcinogens and fires. There's fire safety masks that they need to have as part of their profile, what they need to be doing on the job site. They have one typically right now. They need 2. One needs to go into the wash to get cleaned before they go into the next job site. So we're provided actually over, 36 hoods were approved for over $3,000 as a grant for those fire hoods. We also, for the police department, have approved a mobile fingerprint device. Surprisingly, we didn't have a fingerprint device here in the city of Milton. That has now been afforded to us. That, too, is about over $3,300 of grant approval from the Milton First Responders Foundation. So I would like to also bring up, for a little bit of photo, Fire Chief Robert Edgar, Battalion Chief Elliott, Fire Apparatus Officer Sprouse, Engine 41, Apparatus Officer Farnell, Engine 41, Apparatus Officer Carter, Rescue 42, Firefighter Rosello, Engine 41, Firefighter Ritchie, Rescue 42. We also from Milton Police Department, Scott Mulvey, Sean McCarty, Jason Griffin, Chris Ward, and of course, Chief Austin. So we'd like to have them come up. We have a few representations of the devices. Look at the horsepower we got behind us. Not too shabby. It's a great job we have. So, example of the hoods. And who wants to get fingerprinted? Anybody in the audience want to get fingerprinted?
Which way?
I was going to give just a real quick picture up close.
It's not
Okay.
my size.
Oh, yes. Oh, they're looking. It's okay. Let them have it. Let's just. We're going to probably move back.
Move back?
Yeah.
You're in the system, Joe.
We'll get right up, and then we'll get council up too. It's a big group council, so if you'll stand.
Yeah, no, Matt Kuntz taught me not to do that.
If you'll twist this way, there we go, perfect. There we go, Excellent, excellent. Okay. Councilman Cook, if you'll move just this way, just a little bit, this way.
Which way behind
Right.
this really tall?
Right over
gentleman
here in that
here?
one. There you go. Yeah, perfect, perfect. Mayor, if you'll scoot this way just a little bit. Okay, perfect. Okay, everybody. All right. Right here. Good, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Just stay where you are, please. Just get another one. 1, 2, 3. Smile, Grants. Here we go. Yay, thank you. Perfect.
Also, just, Brian, if I can add,
Sure.
I'm going to continue on, but just what an honor and to have you guys here tonight. Thank you so much, all of our first responders, and thank you guys for supporting them, because what you're doing by supporting them, you're also, it's supporting the community, and my hats are always off to every one of these guys that gets up every morning and goes to work, putting their life in line of danger to save us. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, in fact, closing comment, I want to also make a mention to the William B. Orkin Foundation, Southern Magnolia Charities, as well as the fabulous community of Milton, who continues to support the First Responders Foundation. We could not do this job and the support we all do through the foundation for them were it not for the city of Milton, the citizens, and the great work of William B. Orkin and Southern Magnolia Charities. So thank you. Thank you for your time today.
And Robin, thank you. And for those of you who don't know, that's Scott Mulvey's sister. And Scott Mulvey is, from what I understand, most likely to become elected mayor in 2022.
We need to talk about that.
All right, Sudi, if you'll please call the next item.
Next item is proclamation recognizing the 25th anniversary of the Piedmont chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution, presented by Councilmember Matt Kuntz.
Yeah, it is my honor to recognize this proclamation for the Sons of the American Revolution. If you are not aware, every now and then we have a group of individuals that come here and remind us of our heritage of this great nation. They come dressed in the revolutionary garb, and they show us a little bit about what life was like back then, but not only about back then, but also what it means today. And I always appreciate when they come out here, and so it's an honor to read this proclamation for their 25th anniversary. So here we go. Whereas the American Revolution secured the independence of the United States and made possible our vibrant system of self-government, and whereas the supporters of the American Revolution, through their vision and determination, enhanced the lives of countless individuals and made possible our system of equal justice, limited government, and the rule of law. And whereas the sacrifices made by those who fought in the American Revolution and the role played by the 39 delegates at the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, irrevocably changed the course of history. And whereas our Constitution, a revered and living document, remains the oldest operational written Constitution, provides inalienable rights for every American citizen, secures the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity, and sets the standard of democracy for the world. And whereas the delegates to the Constitutional Convention in 1787 established the imperative precedence of compromise, which remains to this day an essential aspect of the American legislature. And whereas the Sons of the American Revolution, to honor their fathers and grandfathers who fought or aided in gaining our freedom, was created on the 100th anniversary of George Washington taking his oath of office as our first president. And whereas March 17th, 2019 marks the 25th anniversary of the charter granted to the Piedmont chapter by the National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution. And whereas it is abundantly fitting and proper that the extraordinary achievements of this outstanding organization be appropriately recognized, now therefore we, the mayor and the city council of the city of Milton, congratulate the Piedmont chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution on the grand occasion of its 25th anniversary and commend its many efforts to promote patriotism and the legacy of our nation's founders given under our hand and seal of the city of Milton, Georgia, on this 18th day of March 2019. And, it was interesting. Our Declaration of Independence was actually written in 1776, but the Constitution wasn't until 11 years later. And they locked everybody in a room to figure out what kind of government they would come up with, which may not be a bad idea today. But they came out and they asked Ben Franklin, what did you guys come up with? And he said, a republic, if we can keep it. And so what's very important is we remember the founding principles of our nation. And I appreciate you guys coming here to do this. So coming up here, we'll have a picture with council and appreciate your coming.
Good job again, guys.
All right,
Here,
get
I got
close.
it. I got it.
There we go.
In the middle, if you will just turn sideways just a little bit. There you go. And if you just-
Get as close as you can.
There we go.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Hold on, let's get, we got a proclamation. Hold on. Take your time. You're good. Perfect.
There you go.
Great.
All right. 1, 2, 3. And take a few. Cameras. 1, 2, 3. One more. Thank you.
Maybe all that. Why even have that? I left out. I don't think that was it. I don't think they were. They never carried the exemption. So is there even a need? We should either get rid of the language or apply
What flavor?
Absolutely. Take your choice.
But what are these?
Those are wintergreen. Those are my favorites.
Okay, Sudi, if you would please sound the next item.
Next item is a proclamation recognizing Thrombosis Awareness Month. We would like to welcome Ms. Runalini Gongrakar, Mr. Tej Marudkar, Mr. Tejos Diodar from the Georgia Thrombosis Forum.
Good evening, Mayor, Mr. Mayor Lockwood, Steve Krukoff, Courtney, and the mayor of the members of the council. My name is Atul Laddu. I'm a retired physician, and today we are talking about a different condition, which is called blood clots. We came here about 4 weeks ago, and we asked the attendees in the meeting, does anybody know of thrombosis? And no, a lot of people didn't know. Blood clots is a very, very serious condition. And I have with me three of our young members. This is Mrinalini, Tej and Tejas. They're going to talk to you a little bit about thrombosis. Clearly, in 2 minutes, we cannot tell you. It's a huge subject. At least it will make you aware that this condition exists and something should be done to make a prevention. Would I go, please, Mrinalini?
Thank you, Dr. Laddu. Good evening, everyone. My name is Merlini Gongreker, and I am a young member of the Georgia Thrombosis Forum. The other youth volunteers of GTF here with me are Tej Marutker and Tejas Deodar. We volunteers of GTF, Dr. Laddu, Mrs. Yoshi Laddu, and the rest of the GTF family are very thankful to Mayor Joe Lockwood and the City of Milton City Council for giving us this wonderful opportunity of acquiring a proclamation from the City of Milton. Now I would like to hand the mic over to Tej to talk about thrombosis.
Thank you, Mrinalini. Hi, I'm Tej Marutker, and I'm a 9th grader at Cambridge High School. So I'm going to talk about what thrombosis is and some statistics on it. So thrombosis is just a blood clot in the body, like Dr. Laddu said earlier, and it can be very dangerous because it can block blood flow to a part of the body. So there are 900,000 cases of thrombosis in the U.S. alone every single year. And 1/3 of the cases of thrombosis die within 1 month of being diagnosed. 1/4 of the cases of the people diagnosed with pulmonary embolism, which is a type of thrombosis, suffer from sudden death. And 1/2 of the people that suffer from deep vein thrombosis suffer from long-term complications throughout their life. So it's a very dangerous illness, and in the city of Milton, we can inform people on ways to prevent it. And I'll hand it over to Tejas Theodore.
Thanks, Tej. Hello, my name is Tejas Theodore. I'm an 8th grader at Piney Grove Middle School. Now, our plan includes informing the general population about thrombosis in the city of Milton. We'll do this by using methods such as posters, presentations, booths, and ads. This will then make people more aware of what could happen to them if they're not to move for a long period of time, such as a long-haul ride or sitting in one place for a long period of time. We also plan to inform the employees of the city of Milton and the police force about thrombosis. Now, this will make the city of Milton a better place overall. Thank you.
These numbers are actually accurate, sir. They're from CDC. So if you think they're scary, indeed they are scary. They're scary. And we need to do something. And we thank the city of Milton tremendously for giving us this opportunity. And when we came last time, we had discussed a few programs here in the city. We want to talk to the police department, that they sit for long periods of time. So I think a lot of programs are being developed in the city. And thank you very much for that.
I just want to thank you too. This is another example, as we had the first responders and the generosity of the gifts to our department, but also working together. It all goes hand in hand to benefit our citizens and save lives. So thank you for that. So tonight I'm honored to present a proclamation on Thrombosis Awareness Month. Whereas thrombosis is the formation of a blood clot inside a blood vessel, obstructing the flow of blood through the circulatory system. This is potentially a fatal condition that can lead to DVT, stroke, or other serious medical conditions. And whereas more than 600,000 people in the United States are estimated to develop venous thromboembolism, all right, thank you, thromboembolism, or blood clots every year, with almost 400,000 of them developing deep vein thrombosis and about 300,000 dying due to these conditions. And whereas pulmonary embolism, a serious and potentially fatal combination of deep vein thrombosis, affects at least 200,000 people in the United States annually. And if neglected, there's an increased risk of the clot traveling to the brain and causing a stroke. And whereas, through public awareness, promoting prompt diagnosis and proper treatment, the state of Georgia seeks to minimize the frequency of deep vein thrombosis, pulmonary embolism, and stroke among all Georgia citizens and those who visit our great state. And whereas the mission of Georgia Thrombosis Forum and the North American Thrombosis Forum is to increase the awareness of thrombosis and to conduct research in the areas of venous thromboembolism. And whereas research conducted in the city of Milton by the volunteers that have spoken here tonight of GTF pertaining to the awareness of thrombosis indicates the risk of thrombosis is very much prevalent in the city of Milton, and more work needs to be done in the community to reduce the burden of this condition in Milton. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and city council of the city of Milton, hereby recognize and proclaim March 2019 and the month of March each year thereafter as Thrombosis Awareness Month, and urge all citizens to support efforts of GTF and NATF to reduce the number of people affected by this condition. And this is given under my hand and the seal of the city of Milton, Georgia, on the 18th day of March 2019. And if the council would join me to present these proclamations. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good job, guys. Great. You have the hardest job of all. Yeah.
We should practice. Thank you, sir.
All right, get close, please. Yeah, could you get about a half step closer together? Yep, go to the, y'all go to your left.
Just a little bit. There you go.
Yep, get close. All right. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to take a few. Good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate everything you're doing, Seth. All right, City, if you'll please sound the final report and presentation item.
This item is Georgia 400 Transit Initiative Overview. This is being presented by Ms. Colleen Kiernan, who is Senior Director, Government and Community Affairs with MARTA.
Good evening, Mayor Lockwood, council members, staff. Thank you so much for inviting us today. My name is Colleen Kieran. I'm the Senior Director for Government and Community Affairs at MARTA. I'm joined this evening by my two colleagues. Tracy Roberson is the Senior Project Manager in our Planning Department at MARTA, and Emily Ritzler is with WSP, and she's our project consultant. So those two will be able to answer any questions that, if we go deep in the weeds, that you might have. I have a presentation. Do I need to open it?
Just click on that right there.
Thank you. Mayor Lockwood, I believe that you attended the last meeting of the Fulton County Mayors and County Commissioners that was held at the end of February. So apologies to you that this is a little bit repetitive, but we wanted to make this information available to everyone, including your constituents. So I'm just going to walk through sort of where we've been and where we're going with regard to the Georgia 400 Bus Rapid Transit Project. So as you might be aware, Fulton County developed a transit master plan that was completed last spring. There were several bus rapid transit and arterial, which is abbreviated as BRT, and arterial rapid transit, which is abbreviated ART, projects that made it into the plan. There's also enhanced local bus service, last mile connectivity, which is getting from your actual destination to a transit route, bus shelters, rail station upgrades, and a South Fulton Park and ride facility. And sort of not part of the transit plan yet, but also there's been study initiated by the mayors stretching from Smyrna over to Tucker to evaluate a high capacity transit option for I-285, which we'll get to a little bit more as we go forward. So the Georgia 400 Bus Rapid Transit Project is proposed to be take advantage of the managed lanes that Georgia Department of Transportation is in the process of finalizing the planning and actually implementing. The BRT portion of the project would stretch from the North Springs MARTA Rail Station on the south side to the Windward Parkway Park and Ride lot on the north side. So it's around 12 miles, and the capital costs are expected to be somewhere in the range of $240 to $300 million. I'll get more into the costs in a minute. So the capital costs, there are several different pots that we'll need to get from, but the existing MARTA sales tax that you all pay will pay for the ongoing operations and maintenance of the bus rapid transit system. So where we are in the terms of the planning of the project, so beginning in 2011 was the initial doing the environmental work and determining whether it was going to be heavy rail or bus rapid transit or some other alternative. And so because of the work that Georgia Department of Transportation is doing, the bus rapid transit mode rose to the top and is the locally preferred alternative. We're now nearing the end of the environmental phase where we're doing the National Environmental Policy Act review and concept design before we move into the actual engineering of the project. So then the Georgia Department of Transportation project is expected to be completed in 2022, but the project for the bus rapid transit stations and implementation we expect to be in operation by 2025. I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide, but in essence, MARTA is coordinating with Georgia DOT as they're making decisions. Their project is on a little bit of a faster timeline than ours, as I just described, but we recently had the 4 different project meetings, open houses that were throughout North Fulton. Have you had the chance to attend? So here are the potential station locations. As I mentioned, it's essentially an extension from the North Spring station, which is where the heavy rail terminates on the north side, up to the Fulton County, Forsyth County border. So the 4 station locations are proposed to be Holcomb Bridge Road, North Point Mall, Old Milton Parkway, and Windward Parkway. And those first 3 stations are proposed to be in line, so they'll be in the middle of Georgia 400, and then that Windward Parkway will be sort of a flyover similar to what we have at North Springs that comes southbound. Also, there are additional transit capacity improvements being considered for arterial roads such as Holcomb Bridge and Old Milton Parkway, and so that coordination is going to be pretty important. So you would be able to, make your get to Georgia 400 on a bus that comes frequently, and then get all the way, to downtown or the airport with minimal connections, minimal friction. So as you may have heard, when the governor signed House Bill 930 last spring, which was a transit bill, the state committed $100,000 towards the capital costs for the Georgia 400 project. And so what that is going to cover is some of the GDOT sort of expenses. So like the acquisition of the right-of-way. So, they're already having to acquire additional right-of-way for the toll lanes, but there will need to be even more to accommodate the bus rapid transit stations. The station access, so that would be like the coming down from Holcomb Bridge Road, etc. communications, and lighting. So that's covered by the $100 million. But there are additional capital costs that we are going to need to figure out how to pay for. That includes the actual stations, the station lighting, the shelters, the fare collection, the bridges, the elevator and stairs, the park and ride, all that sort of stuff. So that's a deficit of between 150 to 200 million that we're trying to figure out, how to fill that gap. So here's a pie chart that sort of demonstrates what's going on. So the state has 100 million. So the whole thing is, we'll call it 300 million. State did 100 million. There's a federal grant program called Small Starts, which could contribute up to $100 million. And so the deficit that we're trying to fill is between 45 million and 129 million. And so then these are the different sources of funds. There's other additional federal pots that we could apply for. There's other state ways that we could flex money. Or there's also House Bill 930 presented an option that Fulton County could go back and do an additional, kind of similar to what the city of Atlanta did in 2016, an additional 0.2 cents on the dollar that would fund transit expansion. So where we are right now is, and I think Mayor Lockwood can speak to this, and perhaps the date has been set, but the rest of the mayors are going to be meeting, I think, either late April or beginning of May with the Fulton County Commission to decide whether this local referendum is something that wants to happen, that y'all want to happen, and decide whether that's going to be called for this year or sometime in the future. So we're also working with GDOT as they make their decisions to preserve the station areas with the express lanes, the environmental processes continuing, the construction phasing is being planned out, and we're continuing to advance the project while the funding is being figured out. So here are some renderings of what it might look like. As you can see, the stations will be covered. Those vehicles are actually buses. Those are on wheels. And most people, if you've ridden the plane train at the airport, that's actually on wheels as well. So bus rapid transit can be, there are a lot of different ways that it can be implemented, but it can feel very rail-like. And so this would be platform boarding. The fare collection would happen before you get on the vehicle, so to minimize the friction. We have a couple of other renderings of what it might look like. So there will be walls that would go between the managed lanes and where the bus would be. So you're not going to just be standing in the middle of Georgia 400 waiting on a bus. It'll be a much more friendly experience. So this is another rendering that just shows what it would be like with the cars. And the wall isn't there because if it was, you wouldn't be able to see the station. And this is just another option of how it could, if the stations were on both sides of the road rather than in the middle. So as I mentioned, there's a decision to be made coming up about whether to levy an additional sales tax to fund capital transit expansion. So in Fulton County, the potential to generate, the income that such a sales tax would generate is around $28 million annually, or $1.2 billion over 30 years. And the projects that it would fund would be this Georgia 400 project, South Fulton Parkway bus rapid transit, and potentially the I-285 bus rapid transit project. And if not I-285, then it could fund some additional ART, arterial rapid transit projects like on Holcomb Bridge Road, et cetera, that the Fulton County Transit Master Plan identified. So with that, I will be happy to answer any questions or clarification.
Yeah, thank you so much. Do we have any questions from council? Okay.
Great, thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. Sure, we'll move on to our first presentation. Sudi, if you'll please sound those items.
First item is consideration of an ordinance to revise Article 3, Officers and Employees, Division 2, Travel and Meal Expenditure Policy, Agenda item number 19060. Next is consideration of an ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Article 6, Division 3, to revise the city's budgetary policy regarding budget stabilization, resources, and utilization of prior year's fund balance. Agenda item number 19061. Our final first presentation item is consideration of an ordinance to amend Appendix A, Parks and Recreation Fees and Other Charges, Chapter 34, Section 24, N 2 through 8 of the Milton City Code. Agenda item number 19062.
Okay, do I have a motion on the first presentation items?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the first presentation items as read.
Second.
Have a motion for approval from Councilmember Kuntz with a second from Councilmember Longoria. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, we'll move on to our public hearing. Sudi, if you'll please sound the first item.
First item is an alcohol beverage license application hearing, consideration of the issuance of an alcohol beverage license to BCG Cap Cross LLC, doing business as Crooked Creek Club, 3430 Highway 9 North, Milton, Georgia, 3004. Agenda item number 19063. Ms. Bernadette Harville.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Crooked Creek Club is under new ownership, and the application before you is for that. They are in compliance with all the regulations, and staff recommends approval.
Okay. Any questions? Comments? Do we have any public comment on this?
No, sir.
All right, I'll close the public hearing and open up for a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item number 19-063.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion for approval from Councilmember Bentley with a second from Councilmember Jameson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Okay. Sudi, if you'd please call the next.
Our next item, also an alcohol beverage license application, public hearing, consideration of the issuance of an alcohol beverage license to Yanling Inc., doing business as Tokyo Sushi, 980 Birmingham Road, Suite 303, Milton, Georgia, 3004. Agenda item number 19064. Ms. Bernadette Harville.
Tokyo Sushi on Birmingham Highway is also in compliance with all regulations, and staff recommends approval.
Okay, do we have any public comment on this?
No, sir.
Any questions from council? I'll close the hearing and open up for a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve agenda item number 19-064.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion for approval from Councilmember Kuntz with a second from Councilmember Bentley. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bernadette. All right, we'll move on to our zoning agenda. Sudi, if you'll please read the zoning rules and sound the first item.
At the second regularly scheduled meeting of the month, the mayor and city council consider a zoning agenda. These items include rezoning petitions, modifications of zoning, use permits, and associated concurrent variances, in addition to ordinances, resolutions, and text amendments. I would like to acquaint you with some of the rules and procedures for the zoning item. The applicant and all those in support of an application will be allowed a total of 10 minutes to present the petition. Those called to speak will be taken in the order that the speaker cards were received by the city clerk prior to the beginning of tonight's meeting. If you are speaking on behalf of a group or organization, an affidavit must accompany your public comment card. Before beginning your comment, please identify yourself by name and address. We have one zoning item this evening. Consideration of RZ 19-01, amendment to Section 64-1, definitions, and Section 64-395, uses prohibited in all zoning districts as it relates to vape shops. Agenda item number 19050. First presentation was heard at the March 4th, 2019 City Council meeting. Mr. Parag Agrawal.
Hi, I'm Parag Agrawal, City's Community Development Director, and today I'm here to present you a proposed zoning amendment that will prohibit the opening of the new vape shops in the city of Milton. I gave this presentation last week also in the City Council's work session. So I will be repeating these slides again for the sake of process, so please bear with me. As I mentioned, this proposed text amendment will prohibit the opening of the new vape shops from the city of Milton. These legal but unregulated products are typically sold in convenience stores or vape shops, contain ingredients that are known to be harmful. So as part of the zoning text amendment, we are defining the word vape shops. So now the vape shops means any business whose primary product line for retail sale is alternative nicotine products or vape juice or both. And then we also define what the alternative nicotine products are. Alternative nicotine products refer to any products or devices that employ an electronic heating element, power source, electronic circuit, battery, or other electronic, chemical, or mechanical means to produce a vapor that delivers nicotine to the person inhaling from the device, including e-cigarettes, e-cigars, e-hookahs, e-bongs, and e-pipes, whether manufactured, distributed, marketed, or sold as an e-cigarette, e-cigar, or e-pipe. Then we define the word vape juice. Vape juice refers to any liquid that contains compounds containing pharmaceutical-grade vegetable glycerine, propylene glycol, nicotine, food-grade flavoring, and water, and can be used for vaping by means of an alternative nicotine product. For the purpose of the zoning text amendment, the word primary is defined as primary shall mean that alternative nicotine products, vape juice, or both constitute at least 50% of the business aggregate retail sales. We also have a zoning text amendment that will prohibit the opening of the vape shops from the city of Milton, and we are basically including vape shops from the list of prohibited uses. In all zoning districts, the following uses are considered objectionable and are prohibited: fortune telling, massage shops, pool hall, escort and dating services, vape shops, and tattoo and body art piercing establishments. So currently the city of Milton has one vape shop which is located at 522 North Main Street. And this existing vape shop will continue to be in operation because it is already grandfathered in at the time of this ordinance. This zoning text amendment was heard by the Planning Commission on February 27th. And there were a few suggestions. Number one was adjust the definition of primary product line from 50% to a lower number. Number second, consider minimum age for purchase to be 21 instead of 18. Number third, consider the word electronic be substituted for the reference to E in the listing of these types of devices. And number fourth was to include the verbiage for the purpose of this section before the reference to proceed the terms alternative nicotine products or vape juice. So when we presented this text amendment to you last week, the City Council also asked a number of questions. So we have responses for those also. The first question was, how does the city enforce the sales percentage? So right now, currently the city is on a good faith system. We do not actively require or collect any paperwork regarding sales percentages. But the city has the ability to audit if needed. The City Code Section 4-403 gives the city manager the authority to conduct an audit of records and books by notifying the business owner of the date and time. Second question was, what is the percentage requirement in Forsyth County for vape shops? The percentage is 50%. Third was, should we use primary product with its 50% aggregate sales or lower percentage? Or could we just ban this number? So we basically requested an answer from the city attorney's office. And as per the city attorney's suggestion, if the city is looking for a total ban, we need to have a reasonable basis for justifying a complete or total ban. The city attorney's office is not familiar with any community that completely bans such products. The city council can think of a lower threshold, like less than 50%, but it depends on what is the objective and the reason for putting that percentage. Number 4th was could or should we require a license similar how we handle alcohol sales? And the answer is yes. If the city council wants, we can, instead of completely prohibiting the vape shops, we can also require licenses for the new vape shops. And number 5th was, can there be a similar distance requirement from schools? And the answer is yes, but we need to articulate what harm it causes. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, City, do we have any public comment on this?
We do not, sir.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing then, and then open up. Are there any questions for Prague? Go ahead, Matt.
Prague, I don't know if you know the answer to this or whether it be our emergency personnel. In that very first slide that you showed, there was a statement that said that we had teens that have been sent to the hospital because of the situation of these products, right?
Mm-hmm.
What exactly, I mean, we didn't list a number though. What's the magnitude of that situation? Is it just, how often every week are we seeing this, or is it every day, or what's the magnitude of the problem?
I do not know the frequency at this time, but I know we have had examples in the city in the past. There have been a few examples, but I do not know whether it is every week or every month or something.
Okay, but obviously enough to bring it forth to us.
Sure.
And so from that perspective, that's my only question right now.
Okay. Councilmember Longoria.
So as a follow-on to that, because the previous discussions that we've had related to this had nothing to do with nicotine. They had to do with artificial marijuana and other artificial type drugs. I don't even know what the drugs were. I know that they were things that were being masked in their sale. So is what we're suggesting here that vape shops are a common method of sales for those products, and we're sort of piling on top of vape shops to follow up on our previous regulations in terms of banning the sale of those artificial components?
Prague, I'll take that. So it's both. What we're seeing as a result of these vape shops is really you're seeing a whole new generation reintroduced to nicotine. The stop smoking campaigns that have gone on for the last 20 years have been very effective, and you don't see smoking like when we were all young. In fact, if you notice in the campaign and the marketing, they don't even call this smoking. They call it vaping. They call it juuling.
Right.
They don't call it smoking. But the reality is you're still introducing nicotine into the system, a very addictive substance, and also a toxic substance. So you are, and it's appealing to a younger generation. You see names of this juice called things like vanilla cake and apricot and things like that. Not things that necessarily conjure up an image of something bad, but something sweet, something good, something colorful. The marketing has been pretty interesting in this. So it is definitely appealing to our adolescents. Where it marries over into what you're talking about, a lot of these other synthetic substances, the synthetic marijuana and things along those lines, take a very similar form in a lot of situations, and they can be introduced into to a very similar device. And our kids don't know the difference, and they're not regulated. These things could be coming across from places like China where there's no regulation. They're coming in and they're flooding our markets. And one day they're smoking something called vanilla cake. The next thing the day they're smoking something that, when tested, turns out to have spice in it. So there is some carryover, but the reality is it's the totality of this that is really causing the effect.
All right. Thank you.
Councilmember Cookley.
This might be a question for you, Ken. Can you give some insight into the liability these stores have, in the sense that if children are getting harmed, and I do know of some firsthand examples, what kind of exposure do the store owners have, and are they being sued not only locally in Georgia but nationwide for the harm and the damage?
It's an interesting question, and so my short answer is sort of like the Dram Shop Act, where people would get sued for selling to alcohol to visibly intoxicated individuals. I'm not aware of a similar sort of burgeoning area of the law like that in Georgia, but that doesn't mean it's not a time that's coming, because one of the things that we have seen in other jurisdictions, not only with vape canisters is what I'm going to call them, but also with some of the products that are otherwise sold in certain gas stations that mimic either potpourri or bath salts or some of these things that are in fact what the city manager was talking about, turn out to be actually intended to have some sort of a psychotropic or illicit drug effect. It's beginning. So I think there's two things. I think there's going to be a civil liability aspect of that to the extent that a kid gets this and inhales it or smokes it, and there's going to have to be a cobbled together case. The reality is these materials are intended to be ingested. I mean, we're all kidding ourselves if we think they're not. They are. Really, people aren't using these for bath salts. I'm sorry, the high schoolers are not really putting these in their tub. And then, of course, there's the criminal aspect of it as well. Just because something is, in fact, purchased at a store doesn't mean it could not be a Schedule I drug. It's just that no one knows what's in it. And candidly, the kid doesn't know. Very well may be the vendor doesn't know. It may, in fact, be the distributor doesn't know what's in it because the chemical composition is unknown and the regulation of it is so scarce, if at all. So the short answer is there could be both criminal implications of this, and I can see significant civil liabilities to the extent that you market this stuff either at the marketing level or at the point of sale. But I've not seen any examples of it yet here.
Thank you.
Okay. Laura?
Yeah, so I think in my mind, one of my goals would be to limit the sale of these type devices and products in our city. And so, just some observations. There was a great presentation by Officer Walters to the Planning Commission. These shops attract crime because the devices that are used are untraceable. And so I believe at our own vape shop that we have here, we've had significant 2 break-ins. So for that reason, I think that the drain on our police force and tracking down, crime, and they do promote drug use, whether or not it's immediately observable. There are containers to conceal drugs from law enforcement, et cetera. So we're kidding ourselves if we don't consider these, shops that promote drugs, whether it's nicotine replacement or synthetic marijuana and so on and so forth. And my last observation is that we, if you look at what some of our sister cities, Johns Creek, you will see a vape shop on every corner. So it's profitable, and I think we need to take this opportunity to think about what a store looks like with 50% of their sales, their aggregate sales, being this product. And so for that reason, I would strongly support reducing that percentage as far down as 25%. I don't think we want to take on a lawsuit by outlawing these products, but I do think that we have a great objective in front of us to not invite these shops into our city.
Okay. Councilmember Coates?
Yeah, 2 questions. So what exactly is the stipulation that says we cannot outlaw these? Was it a state rule, or what was that? Remind me.
Well, it really goes to the level of scrutiny we want to subject ourselves to. You've got a product that is legal, can be sold in the state of Georgia. Again, I'm not talking about the illicit stuff. I mean, if it's got K2 or spice or psychotropic drugs in it, that's all entirely different category. But I'm talking about the fact that there are varieties of this product that are legal, that are, in fact, in some quarters considered to be a healthier alternative to traditional smoking. Okay, so we need to at least, set the table here. And so the more that we regulate, the more scrutiny our regulation comes under. So there is a difference between a significant level of regulation that otherwise leaves alternative opportunities for this sort of product to be sold in the city versus a carte blanche ban. And so if we're going to do a carte blanc ban in the city, we need to be mindful of what is the rationale that we are justifying that it can't be sold anywhere when, for instance, traditional nicotine products can still be sold, oral tobacco products can still be sold, alcohol can still be sold. All of them have various levels of unsavoriness, if we want to talk about them. They all have maybe deleterious health effects, et cetera. So that's the reason I'm suggesting some caution, is that the heavier the regulatory footprint, the more scrutiny that we come under. Did we act reasonably in this area?
And so I mean, obviously you don't attack, there's no silver bullet for a problem like this. It's more cultural than anything else. And so, Steve, do you know, does passage of this law allow our police force to help educate our youth on the dangers of this substance as well? Are we allowed to go that path? How does that work out from a communications perspective with our residents? Or maybe, Ken, you can, either one.
It's certainly an opportunity. This is entirely zoning related,
right?
But that doesn't mean we can't complement this this with independent education. I'm the chief's here. I'm not sure what we're doing along those lines, but anytime you can educate and enforce at the same time, you usually have a better result.
Councilor James, let me.
Yeah, I'll just go.
Ken, did you want to comment?
No, I'll defer.
Yeah, I'll just say on Laura's point, I think the 50% is probably too high, and I think 25% still meets our objectives and still allows for the adult to go to a Quick Trip and buy a Juul product or something. And I was curious, and I think the most important thing is for us to talk to our neighboring cities, because we share these boundaries with Alpharetta and Roswell, and just because you can't buy it in Milton, kids can go across the street and buy it in Alpharetta. So I think that's probably the biggest thing. So I'm fine with the 25%. I think it accomplishes what we want. And I guess my next question is, if you're a vape shop owner and it's 25% in Milton, it's 50% in Forsyth, you're probably not going to open up in Milton. So I think that accomplishes our goal without stretching it too far.
Well, and if I can respond to that very briefly, just with respect to, so I think one of the things I want to make sure everyone is aware of is that in Forsyth, I think the 50% is the threshold for permitting. It's not that it's banned. It's just that that's the level at which you have to come in and get a particular permit on an annual basis.
Got it.
Just
no,
again.
That's a good.
Thank you.
Could you address if we were to go to 25% versus 50? Because I could tend to agree with that. If there's a establishment that is not a quote vape shop, but a gas station or whatever, I still think 25% would be a fairly big number.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think it is a notable distinction. Obviously, the difference between 25 and 50%. I think it would be helpful, to hear some folks that are actually in the enforcement section. And let me just speak for myself. I've never seen a vape shop that has 49% of its store space attributed to vape products. Typically, I tend to think in for a penny, in for a pound. That's what they do. Mm-hmm. Or it's the Walgreens with a little section behind the counter. Now, that may be different than your anecdotal experience, but that's what my experience has been. So all I will say, and again, this is totally my experience, which is no better or different than yours, 50%, it would seem to me, to the extent the concern is the vape shops that's all they do, and they have all the lines, and they have literally you open the door and the plume of steam comes out the door. You're capturing that with this ordinance right now.
But I guess my question is, doesn't it allow a little bit of a loophole? Is why don't you buy a Coke for $5 and you can get a bottle of juice for $5 as well, to kind of skirt those rules? Or, I mean, I'm thinking 50% you could still. I mean, if I'm if I'm thinking about it in a business sense, that's probably what I would do, and I think we want to try to avoid that type of situation. Let the police enforce it as best we can.
My only response to that, and again, if you've got the city manager and law enforcement here, but my only response to that would be is that my experience is that enforcement knows exactly which actors in the community are not doing this correctly and are are the problematic actors, and so I would.
I just
defer
want to
that.
give them the legal right to get those problem actors.
But just be mindful that what we're talking about now is a land use tool. So this is when someone seeks to do something on a piece of property. Now, to be sure, this can be enforced by enforcement. We can go out and say, listen, this is not allowed in the city of Milton the way you're attempting to do it. But where this is really going to hit the road is when applications come in to your planning office, and they're going to be, you can't do this. You're talking about a vape store, and under our definition, we don't allow that. The traditional vape store.
Councilmember Cookley.
Let me ask a question a little bit in a different direction. So if the goal is to create an impediment so that dangerous products are not sold, is another way to achieve this having customers have to sign for their purchase of any kind of category? Because the other issue that we have is that when people are potentially harmed, is dialing it back to the origin of the substance. And why would we not be able to then have documentation, a trail, and that in and of itself tends to be quite a deterrent.
Forgive me.
I think we have to examine what the objective of this ordinance is, and it's like Ken said, it's entirely land use. While we expect it to have some effect on the supply, at the end of the day, unless it's outlawed, and actually prohibition tells you that that's not even the case, it's not going to necessarily prevent those that are most driven to get the product. They're still going to get it. I think this is more of a statement that the city of Milton is making, saying we don't want to see these on our streets. We don't want to maybe make a statement saying that we're okay with this, with the current situation as it is, but it's not going to necessarily prevent those that are most driven. To give you an example of what you're talking about, a lot of times we notice if you go into a pharmacy and you buy certain products, they make you sign for them because they're used in the making of other drugs like methamphetamine, and they make you sign off on those things. And that's to prevent you from buying too many in one location or going around all over the state and picking up these products to make methamphetamine. That is, you'll find them. You'll see the people that are trying to game the system, but at the end of the day, it's being made into methamphetamine. So I
don't think it would be effective at all.
At what point is there a diminishing return on the investment? And that would only I would be asking you to consider as a council. I'm not saying that it's not a good idea.
Right. Well, I don't know.
Councilmember Bentley.
So, Ken, back to you, the question of the percentage. So you feel comfortable with us legally dropping the percentage down to 25%?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I think that, given the presentation this evening and given the trajectory that the city appears to want to go, I would be comfortable with that. You've still left plenty of opportunities to sell this product in the city of Milton. And if you want to dedicate 24.9% of your floor space to selling vape products, that would still be allowed. So short answer is, forgive me, yes, I do think that would be appropriate.
Because I think the objective would be to seal off any potential loophole with, selling snacks or whatever you might be able to commingle with these products that would be attractive to the audience that they're trying to reach, which is why they're so popular throughout other cities. And that would be my recommendation.
Okay. Councilmember Kuntz.
So is it, as we make this motion as well, could it be possible or recommended, obviously the city manager can have discretion if a shop needs to be audited, but could we also require that there be an annual audit of these things when they come in? Is that possible? It's a zoning modification, just curious.
Let me offer up this thought, both your comment and Councilmember Cookerly's comment. They sound more like a permitting and regulatory scheme than a land use prohibition.
Okay.
And, for instance, Councilmember Cookerly, when she was talking, and I understand exactly where she was going, that's more, the sign when you make the purchase, and the city manager was right as well. But where I'm used to that is sort of like in the pawn shop thing. We want to have a paper trail of who gets what, where. That way we can lock it back and walk it back and see who did what. And that's fine. Other jurisdictions have certainly gone the permitting route, but that is an intensive administrative burden as well. Wasn't sure if that's quite where y'all wanted to be, but if you want to be, that's a different direction, but we could do that as well, what you're talking about.
Well, my general goal is I want to make sure that we have as much legal authority to regulate as possible, given the staff that we have. So one thought about the 25%, I know it says retail sales, but I would like it to be all sales on an establishment, just to make sure that there's no question of gamemanship sometimes with establishments. I know we have it, it just depends. People can call things different names or whatever, but I don't know if that fits in that criteria as well. Just a thought. We talked about that last week. So again, my main concern is that our city manager and our staff have as much legal authority as they can to regulate if they decide to go that route.
Well, if to the extent this is on the books, I mean, again, it will likely show itself or manifest itself in the context of reviewing zoning applications. But if a business, which already perhaps has the requisite zoning to provide retail sales, transitions, and their aggregate sales appear to be, from a law enforcement perspective, to be greater than the way it's drafted right now, 51%. Well, then I assume a citation might issue, and then we would have to go to court, and we would have to put on evidence of what we believe, and I'm sure that they would come to court and say otherwise.
Okay. Councilmember Longoria?
No, I'm good. My question got answered.
Okay. I would say, and again, whether we want to or not, total ban of these products is maybe not legal. The analogy I have is this would be like taking a drugstore or gas station or grocery store that sells beer and maybe beer and wine versus having just a strictly beer and wine store opening up at 100%. So this would limit it so that you wouldn't have a true vape shop coming to town to try to do business in the city of Milton. I want to thank council for considering this and also all the hard work staff has done on it. But I think also one of the most important things is it's the awareness. It's people, as we're doing this, and our zoning ordinances include this, and parents learn about this, and kids, that maybe that's the biggest lesson here, that these products are dangerous, and that's the reason we're doing this. So.
Really quick question. So this will not, so if they want to apply, this is not, you don't have to come into City Hall and apply, and kind of like the alcohol permit. So, because my only suggestion is, I don't think we should do this tonight or anything, but maybe down the road we start looking at that, because I think if someone does want to open up one that is going to be 25% or something, it might be something good for the community to hear. At least gives it a community hearing for people to understand, hey, this is going to open up and this is a time to talk about it. So that's all.
I understand.
But as far as, when they do the alcohol permitting, we go through the process. That might be something just to look at for the community to know.
Okay. Matt, I'm going to open up.
So if we were to make a motion on this, would it be okay for staff if we were to say that we'll make a motion with the Planning Commission recommendations, but lowering the number to 25% of retail sales? Would that be sufficient?
And how about the electronic instead of E?
That's part of the Planning Commission.
Yeah.
That's fine with us. We spoke to the city attorney's office. If you want to substitute E instead of electronic, that's fine with us.
Yeah.
So Councilmember Kuntz, does that include the recommendation of changing 18 to 21?
Yes, everything in the Planning Commission.
No, you want to recommend changing the legal age?
Yeah, let's just get a legal take on that.
Again, I recommend against that.
Okay.
I mean, I'd like to do that, but I don't think.
Yeah, I can't. So could we bring up the Planning Commission recommendations on the screen again?
Yes. Okay. They're on my screen. I do not know why they do not show. Okay. Here you go.
There we go. All right. So we can make a motion that would be to approve the item. I'll take a stab at it. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve agenda item number 19-050 with item 3 of the Planning Commission recommendations, item 4 of the Planning Commission recommendations, and item 1 of the Planning Commission recommendations by lowering the number from 50% to 25%.
Second.
Okay. I've got a motion as read from Councilmember Kuntz with a second from Councilmember Jameson. I do want to ask before any discussion from our city attorney and City manager, any comments on that?
So I'm sorry, don't mean to be doing the sidebar.
No, but
here.
go ahead.
My only concern is the way that the code is written. So if we're going to lower from 50, I believe we define primary somewhere in our zoning code. So that might just be an issue that needs to be addressed. It can go to 25, but I just think we might need to change some wording there. I might be being overly pedantic on it.
Well, no, I thought that, and probably maybe you could help on this, I thought that the vape shop definition that was proposed contained its own insular definition of primary within
Yes,
the
so here you are. So when you basically, the vape shop means any business whose primary product line. So, but for the purpose of the zoning text amendment, we can define primary to be 25%.
So
separately from the whatever we have.
The generic definition of
yes.
primary would
Yes.
not, right.
So we've been down this road before. If we have two different definitions of primary in the zoning code, it becomes confusing. If that's the case.
Yes.
I was trying to find it while you
Sure.
were talking. I apologize. I couldn't find it on the fly. I know we're just wordsmithing now, but I just would recommend that you're the one who gave me the idea, Ken, in one of our correspondence. I'm not sure that having the word primary in there it just might become confusing. If you think it's okay, and you think it's
so
okay.
maybe we can basically say the vape shop means any business whose the product line is 25%. Instead of using the word primary again, just say 25% in the definition itself.
For sales.
For sales.
Sales.
Aggregate sales.
I just don't want to have I don't want to have the same
separate
word having
definitions
two
of primary.
definitions in our
Yes.
zoning code.
Yes. Good point.
Okay, I think everyone knows the gist, and again, staff can go back and look too. If we need to tweak something later, we can, but would sales?
Go
ahead.
Forgive me, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
Well, how about we do this? Councilmember Kuntz, and who seconded, if I may?
I did.
How about we do this? What if we were to deviate and not use primary at all and use principal, and then define principal? That way, we take away from there being two primaries. It's the principal product line, and then we'll define principal to mean 25%.
Okay. So if you don't mind, probably technically we need to change the motion.
We do.
All right,
So
so I'll
if you'll
withdraw my
just
second.
withdraw your second, and then withdraw the motion, and I'll give Councilmember Kuntz another opportunity.
So I can, procedurally, I just amend my motion, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so I would like to amend my prior motion to replace the word primary in the definition with the principal product line and reduce that number to 25%.
Second.
And just for the record, all other aspects of the
And all the
previous
rest.
motion remain the same.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Correct, and staff's got those, everybody. All right, I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion, or council? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, we have no items under unfinished business. We'll move on to new business. Sudi, if you'll please call that item.
This item is consideration of a resolution adopting the City of Milton 10-year comprehensive park and recreation master plan. Agenda item number 19065. Mr. Jim Craig.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you is the comprehensive master plan. This represents nearly 2 years of work by citizens, you folks as elected officials, city staff, the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, as well as the consultants. Last week you saw the presentation that was made by Mr. Provo. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have at this time. Thank you.
Okay, we'll open up for questions. Anybody have any questions, comments? Again, as we know, this is number one. I want to thank our staff and our Parks and Rec staff and our board for all their work. And again, this is it's a roadmap moving forward, but doesn't mean that you can't take some alternate routes or whatever. So it's a 40,000-foot look going ahead. But as we move forward, there's always tweaks and small changes that can be done. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I'll open up for a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve a resolution to adopt the City of Milton 10-year comprehensive parks and recreation master plan.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion for approval from Councilmember Bentley with a second from Councilmember Kuntz. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous, City. Thank you.
Mayor and Council, I want to thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. All right, moving on. Sudi, if you'll please send the next new business item.
The next item is consideration of a resolution requesting the authorization to transmit an application to Atlanta Regional Commission for funding through the Livable Center Initiative Program in the amount of $120,000 to conduct an updated study of the Highway 9 and Deerfield area. Agenda item number 19066. Mr. Parag Agrawal.
Hi, Parag Agrawal, City's Community Development Director. Today you have in front of you a resolution supporting the grant application, LCI grant application, to update the Deerfield LCI plan. I made a presentation last week. I am happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions? Do we have any public comment on this, Sudi?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing. I'll open up for a motion.
Well, first, I'll make a comment. I think the LCI program is a big factor in helping our city in the last 8 years, and so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what we do going forward. So I'll make a motion that we approve agenda item number 19-066.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a motion from Councilmember Kuntz, second from Councilmember Jameson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Parag. Okay, Sudi, if you'd please call this the next item. It was moved from the consent agenda to new business.
Next item is consideration of approval of a construction services agreement between the City of Milton and Triscapes, Inc. for Hamby Road Bridge Repair Project. Agenda item number 19055.
Okay. We'll open up for discussion.
Yeah, so just a quick question. I had some residents up in that area that were interested in to know in our city's project or process to maybe help create Milton-esque bridges and things like that. And I saw in the contract that obviously we were doing that, but we're not mentioning that item in the contract. So I was just curious what our staff's process was to kind of help spur that going forward. That was the only question I had.
No problem. We're just not ready for that yet. I've already brought it up with our community development director and our public works director to discuss options, but they need to do their research to determine truly what do these look like, how are they as they pertain to public safety. Want to get them before you to determine if we have choices of different styles and looks to see what you want as far as what the city of Milton should look like, whether you want to do them based on the different sections of the city, like from Sweet Apples, Poasttown to Deerfield, things along those lines. We're just not there yet.
Okay. Just because we may be preparing this doesn't preclude it from taking part in a program at some point in the future once we have those decisions made.
I would expect that once this gets before council and you see something that you like and you want to move forward with it, that all future projects would take on that characteristic.
Okay. And this bridge is kind of a gateway coming into Milton as well, and that was just one of those questions about timing, et cetera. So
it's a fair question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and along those lines, I'd be interested to know, the pricing of, something that differs and looks more rural. I think we need to make sure we hit the budget items as well. So.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So there's no other comments or questions. I'll open up for a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve agenda item number 19-055.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for approval. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Okay. We'll move on to reports. Is there anything the council wants to report on? Laura?
I just wanted to thank the Milton Equestrian Committee, Courtney Spriggs, and the firefighters from Station 43. We had the Birmingham Park cleanup this Saturday, and it was great. We had a great turnout, moved a lot of trees that were all over the trails. It was weird hearing a bunch of chainsaws in Birmingham Park, but it was nice to be able to walk on the trails with a lot of trees came down. So thank you to everyone that came out and participated.
Okay. Also want to mention something. I have had the honor and privilege probably 3 times since I've been mayor to get invited to celebrate a 100-year-old birthday party in the city of a resident of the city of Milton. And Miss Elsie Duncan, who affectionately referred to as Granny, I was able to attend her 100th birthday party, and I remember having a good time, and I danced with her and enjoyed it and all that. And then I got a call about a year and a half ago, and the family said, Mayor Lockwood, I don't know if you remember coming to Granny's party, but would you come to her birthday party this year? And I said, absolutely. And then I started thinking, wait a minute, that was 10 years ago. So I was fortunate to come to the 110th, and then also last year, her 111th birthday. Unfortunately, Granny passed away Saturday night. So, but anyways, as far as I know, she was has to be the oldest person in Milton and citizen, and very special lady. But did want to let everybody know that Miss Elsie Duncan did pass away Saturday night. So.
Thanks for letting us know.
Sure. Anything else? All right, we'll move on to staff. Parag.
I'm separating all the notes. So, okay. I just want to present some project updates from the department. Number 1 is the land conservation workshop. The city scheduled a very successful land conservation workshop on March 7th. This first workshop focused on the state's CUVA program. Thank you to Councilmember Bentley and Councilmember Coons for attending the event. It was attended by more than 70 participants. Gadgen's Chorus, the appraisal manager with the Fulton County Board of Appraisals, assessors gave the presentation and answered questions. Number 2 is the tree preservation ordinance. The tree preservation ordinance stakeholders committee met last week on March 14th. This group met after a gap of few months, and Sandra, the city arborist Sandra, and I met the group for the first time. And from now on, they will be meeting every other week. That's every other Thursday. The next meetings are on March 28th and on April 11th. We are planning to have the draft ordinance in place by the end of April so that the stakeholders committee and the city council can revise and refine the document in May and June. So we have till July 22nd to give you to finally adopt the new tree preservation ordinance. Number 3 is the Earth Day. The city will be celebrating the Earth Day on April 20th from 10 in the morning till 2 p.m. in the afternoon. This Earth Day will includes kids' activities, classes, and service projects focusing on environment. As you know, the National Earth Day is on April 22nd, so we basically picked the Saturday which is closest to April 22nd. Rezoning and the use permit applications. The city has received one new use permit application for the property located at 1470 Red Road. The applicant plans to open a new private school in AG1 zone property to serve maximum of 80 students in grades from kindergarten to grade 8th. The applicant has also requested 2 concurrent variances. One is to reduce the 75-foot undisturbed buffer and 10-foot improvement setback. And number 2 is to reduce the 100-foot setback for activity areas. The following meetings are scheduled. The Community Zoning Information Meeting will be held on March 26th. This application will be in front of the Design Review Board on April 9th. The Planning Commission will hear this item on April 24th, and it will be in front of the City Council on May 20th. Number 2 is the townhouse project, which we now call Milieu on Bethany Bend Road. That was in front of the City Council in January. It was heard by the Planning Commission on February 27th. The Planning Commission recommended this item should be further deferred to March 27th meeting. and they wanted to have some additional revisions to the site plan to give more public parking space and to talk about the buffers. Fifth is you have already talked about the vape shop and the LCI grant application, so I will skip those. The last is the update of the design review board. The design review board had a very busy meeting in early March. Number of important applications were in front of the design review board. Number one was the LDP for the Crossroads project, which is a mixed-use project at Birmingham Crossroads. The LDP got approved. Number second is the Town Center East project. It's the John Gaston's project, mixed-use project on Mayfield. The design review board approved the LDP and also the elevations. Number third is the Crabapple Market project, the Adam Orkins mixed-use projects, and this near Town Center East things. And the elevations and the LDPs were approved by design review board. And the public safety complex was also on the agenda, and the design review board also approved the public safety complex. We are planning to do a presentation for the city council on your April 14th work session, talking more about the projects in downtown Crabapple. I know since it's a form-based code, these applications do not come in front of you, but our goal is to keep you properly updated with the projects moving forward in downtown Crabapple. Thank you.
Okay, is there any, hold on one second, Parag, questions?
So Parag, since up until 2011, Earth Day was actually at Birmingham Park, and it has since been moved and all over the place, but I'd love for it to possibly go back there at some point in time. So obviously I think there's some things we have to work on to make that happen, but it was a great event before, and I'd love to, I think it would be worthwhile if we made that effort again up in that area again. So just a suggestion.
Oh, thank you for the suggestion. Yeah. Yes. I have one more update. So in the last department update, I spoke to you a lot about the trail master plan. So we have made some important, we have done some important work on the trail master plan. Working with the consultant, we have refined the scope of work, and most likely we will be having the first set of community meetings in May. I do not have the dates with me right now, but we are working towards updating the trail master plan with the community support.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Parag. All right, Chief Austin.
Greetings, Mayor, members of council. On the crime front, we're about even where we were last year. We're up about 7 offenses from where we were at this time in 2018. We have had 3 violent crimes so far this year, but we've cleared all of those by arrest for 100% clearance rate. Our accidents are actually down by about 8%, and if we take out the private property accidents, we're actually down about 10 off of our roadways. Out in the community, excuse me, this past weekend we hosted the Alive at 25 teen driver course. We had 16 teen drivers that showed up to get some expert instruction and not only driving and the rules of the road, but about positive driving attitudes. So we're very pleased with the outcome and the attendance of that course offering. And then finally, on February 9th, our Milton Explorers went to the National Winterfest Explorer competition in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. This year was a little bit different. It was one of the largest festivals that they had been to, with over 3,000 explorers, over 20 states represented. Our Milton Explorers competed in a felony traffic stop competition, suspicious death exercise competition, a drug identification competition, and a uniform inspection competition, and also a robbery in progress exercise. Out of all of those explorers, I'm pleased to report that they received 4th place in the robbery in progress exercise, 3rd place in the drug identification competition, and 1st place in both the suspicious death investigation exercise and the felony stop category. Wow. So we're very pleased with our Explorer program. It continues to be strong and continued interest throughout the community with that program. That's all I got tonight.
All right. Any questions?
Mayor, if I could, just if you would join me in congratulating Chief Austin. As of Friday, he is Dr. Chief Austin. He successfully defended his dissertation. I believe that's how it's stated. And you're too high above me for me to see it. But he is now he has successfully obtained his PhD. So congratulations, Chief.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I must say the city's been very, and my fellow city staff members have been very supportive of me throughout this process. And I know many of you have also offered well wishes throughout this journey over the last few years. So thank you very much for that. Much appreciated.
So let me get this straight. We've got Dr. Austin. How do you say Dr. Chief Austin or just?
I told him I refused to call him Dr.
All
Steve.
And I told him so did my
Doctor
wife.
has
So.
other connotations.
And then we've got possibly Mayor Mulvey. So.
Yes, some campaign signs in the
doctor
police station.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Congratulations. All right, Shannon.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just wanted to update you on a few things. Our website redesign continues. We have the initial design phase and concepts done. Right now, we're working on building out the content with staff. We will incorporate testing with staff as well as our Citizen Government Academy, Fire, Police Administration as well. So it will have significant citizen input and testing. We still continue to see growth in our email subscriptions, still exceed the national averages for our email open rates, and we still have low unsubscribes as far as email. Our National Citizen Survey has kicked off with ICMA, which is a statistically valid survey, but we'll eventually follow that up with a component where it's placed on our website and we'll distribute to the community as a whole. With the addition of additional staff member, increasing from 1 to 2, we will be looking at ways to expand our existing routine communications and then enhancing other areas. Specifically, we'll be bringing back Tuesday Tidbits, so we'll have another series like we did last year, and it'll be driven off of our staff and citizen input. So some of those topics that we have, this is not all inclusive. We have sidewalks, yard debris burning, and ban season. Planning, specifically, what is it? How does it work? We'll cover community parks and transportation planning aspects. Profiles of our committees and what they do in service to the city and for their neighbors, the budget process, government structure as it relates to council districts, terms, serving at large, things like that. And of course, if you all have any personal suggestions that you would like to see, or if there are topics or recurring topics that you have with constituents that either are generate interest or seem to be a source of frustration or confusion, if you'll send those to me, we'll also incorporate those. We'll also be expanding our social media efforts to incorporate more video, which is something that's very appealing to our citizens. So we look forward to expanding those. And I'd like to, I know most of you have met Jen already, but I'd like to invite Jen up so she can introduce herself to the public and talk a little bit about her background. But before I do that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding communications.
Any questions on communications? Anything you want to communicate? Okay.
And I do want to say publicly, again, express my appreciation to senior leadership as well as the council and their support for a new position. And I look forward to expanding those communications efforts with Jen. Thanks.
It's 100% growth, Shannon.
Exactly.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I've had the pleasure of meeting most of you, but I just wanted to give you a quick background so you all know my experience and capabilities and what I hope to add to the city of Milton. I got my degree from Boston University in journalism, so I have a background in writing. And I worked for the federal government, for the Army, for 6 years. And in the past 5 years, I worked in the private sector and then was lucky enough to come back to the public sector. It's something that really called to me. So I'm very excited to be here and learning about local government. That's the thing that I'm most excited about. I have a lot of experience in social media, as Shannon talked about, as well as video and, of course, writing. So I'm really looking forward to using my background to add to the city's communications and learning a lot from everyone. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome to Milton, Jen.
Thank you.
So, all right. Anything else on reports? If not, I'll open up for a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss land acquisition.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous.
It is pretty.
I guess the reporter's gone.
I guess so.
All right, then have a motion, we reconvene.
Second. Or so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion to reconvene. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Unanimously.
All right. Thank you.